Hey guys.
Hey John.
Hi mate. I'm sorry I waved then and my video camera's not on, is it?
No, it's on now.
Yeah, it's on now. I just turned it on. How are we doing? I know
Good,
how
good.
you're
And
doing,
you?
Josh. Yeah, good. Thank you, mate.
Good.
So hi Josh, hi Barry, hi Kevin, hi 61427. Who's that? I don't know who 61427 is. I'm guessing that's the beginning of a mobile number for someone who hasn't identified himself yet.
Let's open this up.
It's somebody. I'm expecting a couple more. I think Kate's coming. I think Matt's coming today. Now I managed to write my notes from the group session yesterday or the day before, didn't I? So well done, John, for being late. Hey, Tiff.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
So we're still on a little bit of a mission for margins, aren't we? Let me try and find what I wrote last time. What homework did I give you all? No one can remember. I don't know. Can't remember. I know. I wrote it down, so I'm going to go and find the email. I gave a few of you homeworks. I did get quite excited handing out stars last time, didn't I? Which was kind of fun. It was fun for me anyway. Active clients, there you are. And I don't want to send an email. Right, I'll have to try and remember.
You just sent us an email in the week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. Hi, Craig. I see Craig's arrived.
Guys, how's it going, everyone?
Good, mate. I still don't know who 61427 is. Who hasn't said hello? Whose name haven't I said? Because you muted as well and your camera's off. So you're a very quiet participant today. It's not you, Barry.
Cool. I'm here today.
I'm trying to find this email because I had a load of clever ideas ready. And now I can't remember what they were.
Were you looking for the, I came in a bit later, are you looking for the one you sent us?
Yeah, found it. It's all right.
Ah, just forwarded it.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I found it, yeah. So we talked about, I'm going to try and stick to this structure, a short presentation or catch up from me about what we're doing. Hi, Kate. And then a discussion around how each of you is progressing and sharing your results and your concerns, and then a bit of an action plan for next, and then open questions. And we're going to throw the field open for you guys to ask me things. And I think increasingly you were finding that useful, right? Because somebody asked a question last week and everyone was interested, and that happened the week before. So I'm like, okay, that's a good thing. You're all going through the same program and doing similar stuff. You know, I know that Craig, you were asking me about copy for your website in our one-on-one last week, and Kate's now writing copy for her website.
Oh,
so it's interesting to throw it open for everybody to have those discussions. So I want to do a bit more about that too. I'll stay focused on margins for a bit because I did ask you, that's right, to have a think about how you compare to your immediate competitors. Now, that was a price and wonderfulness comparison. Has anyone had any thoughts on that? Have you made any progress? No, look at you all. Silence from everybody.
Little bit. I've got some feedback from one of my agents during the week and said that I was still, even with the increase of price, is still around the sort of typical pricing for everything. Thinking, bugger it, let's go some more.
Yeah, really, Barry.
Nice.
So how much was your price increase?
Went from probably 90 for electrical works to 105, and then from 65 to between 75 and 85 for handyman works.
65 to what, 80, did you say?
From 65 to 75 and or 85 depending on scope of works.
Okay. Isn't that interesting? So you're still on the ball. So you were very too cheap before, and you're still cheap enough. What about quality? Where do you fit on quality, or service, or all that stuff? Responsiveness, not getting called back, happy customers.
Look, they're extremely happy with what we do for them. They like being able to virtually throw something, or the difficult, but just about anything at us, and that they know that in the end, this is what they've said, that it'll get taken care of.
Okay.
I'm having some issues trying to find somebody garage remote controls at the moment. That's just having enough time to go and find the silly things.
Yeah, really. So that's a good thing to learn, right? To understand that they really like working with you, and your price is fine.
Yeah.
And I think it does say to you, maybe not straight away, but a little bit down the track, you could squeeze your price up a bit more.
Yeah, that's certainly what I was thinking, possibly around that sort of Christmas time.
Yeah.
Just after.
Well, maybe we'll tie it in with changing from an hourly rate and a cost, doing charge or cost plus type arrangement to a fixed price arrangement.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking as well. So.
And I think that's the thing for, that's an enthusiasm of mine, right?
Yeah.
Moving from a cost plus to a fixed price arrangement, partly when I think we talked about this last week, partly because you get to hide that hourly rate. So people don't go, gosh, that's a lot. That's more than I get. And all that kind of thing. And they just equate the job to the price. And it's a lot harder for them to pick it apart and go, I can get a tap washer from Bunnings for $20. How come it costs you 180 to install it? And all that kind of rubbish, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. Even last night, I was catching up with a client until about 7:00 last night, and one of the questions he asked was, "How much do you charge an hour? How much? What would you do this on an hourly rate?" And I said, "No, I'd want to give you a fixed price, so you know exactly what I'm doing for the price, and so we know exactly where we both stand up front for what I'm doing, for what you're paying me, and away we go."
And he accepted that.
Yeah.
Okay, Barry. Barry's on fire today, everybody.
The best one is my first job out on Seek went this morning. We've already had about 10 or 15 inquiries.
Well done, mate.
Even
How
better.
many does that make? How many does that make? Will that make?
That should make 3 of us and a whole heap of other different contractors.
Awesome. Well done.
Yeah, well done, Barry. That was Barry's job from
one of them. The other one I'm still working through.
Yeah, there's a few jobs. Well done, Barry. So that's like for everybody, that's pleasing, right? That one, Barry got little resistance to saying no, it's a fixed price. There's not an hourly rate up for grabs here. Because that's nice, isn't it, right? No resistance. The customer accepted it as okay. So you can do that, right? You can shift, and you can say the old way can change. This is the new way. I had an example of it myself. I've changed what I present for my coaching to a potential new client, and he bought the new thing. So I'm doing the same, right? I'm doing it myself as well. I've changed from it's an hour a fortnight to it's 20 minutes a fortnight and 20 minutes whenever you want. And he just went, yep, I'll buy that. So I've done the brave thing too, and I put my price up from 1st of October. I like to share those things. So I'm doing it too. I was scared too, if I'm honest.
Well done, man.
Yeah, thank you. So, we can all do it, right? We've all got our targets for bigger margins. We're all brave. Well done, Barry. Right, I know that Josh. Well, we've been measuring Josh's margins, and your margins were all right, weren't they, Josh?
Yeah, we measured it for the last week and the week before, and yeah, we're doing okay. I think the cost per person was it's pretty good. I mean, we do have unskilled labor, so I think that's where we can save costs. So even if we were, I think Kate was asking how much would last week she was asking how much would we charge if it was for an hourly rate. I think even if we were to charge $80 per person, we would still have a 40 plus gross margin on our.
Well, we were going to try and get you to engineer your rates, weren't we?
Yes, yes. So I mean,
Well, let's do
yes,
it because
so
we got a couple of jobs this morning, didn't we? When we did our session.
yeah,
Should
definitely.
we try and do a bit of reverse engineering?
On a couple of my jobs.
Yeah. Do you feel
Okay.
brave? Can I share?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, how can we do it? Yeah, sure.
Can I share that big numbers tracker and show you what I meant?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, no worries.
This will be fun. Remember we talked about this last week about trying to reverse engineer. So both Josh and Craig have a. Hang on, I can't do two things at once because I'm a man. Both Josh and Craig have a linear meter rate for silicone, right?
Yeah.
So we did an assessment of a couple of jobs today. We did the jobs analysis. So I'll share my screen and show you that. So there's a couple of reasonably small jobs. Tower projects was a $2,000 job. There was 26 hours of labor, and their labor cost is $43, and the materials cost was $66. So they made $776, which was 40%. So they have 40% margin, right? And then when they did windows at Gledhill, $1,400 invoice, 21 labor hours. The cost of the labor is the same. Materials was a bit more, and their profit was $200, which is only 24%. Right. So what we learned was that windows are more fiddly, and they had to run up and down scaffolding. So the same amount of meters took rather longer. That's the first lesson, right? That's understanding how their pricing works. You know, if it's windows, maybe you need a higher meterage rate. Tower projects was all nice long runs, and it was easy. So people could be quicker.
Yeah.
But let's do this, right? Let's try tower projects. Let me write my note. Reverse engineering, hourly rate. So if we said a 50% margin on labor, on materials, right? So on tower projects, materials were 66. So let's say we sold them at 132. That means the labor was 1938 minus 132, right? Who can tell me what that is? 6.
I've lost you.
0, 8. You've lost me. Okay, sorry. What I'm doing.
1702, I think. Oh, sorry, 1802. You said it was 132, did you?
I did.
Well, that'd be 1802.
1802. Okay. So what I've done is I've gone, all right, materials were $66. That was your cost. So if you sold them for a 50% margin, you sold them for twice as much as what they cost you. So you sold them for 2 times 66, which is 132, right? And then, so 132 was what the materials were. So the labor was 1938 minus the 132, which I've just done. And I think it's 1806, Kate. So it was 1806 for labor, $1,806 for labor for 26 hours of labor. Then hourly rate charged was 1806 divided by 26. $69.40, right? $70 an hour. That's what you charged on that job. Now try the other one, right? Let's try the other one. Did that make sense? Did you all understand how I did that?
No, can you give that again? Just run it through
mate.
a little bit. I lost you also halfway, and then I didn't.
I might try and do it. I might try and do it in a spreadsheet for the sake of it being clearer.
Because I've also done this number workup, but I didn't use my margins on the material, so that's why I'm still a little bit unsure.
Okay. So what was the job called? Tower projects. Tower projects from Josh. Invoiced amount was
Like 99.
1,938, right?
Mhm.
Materials cost 66. Materials sell was 66 divided by 0.5. Oh, you bastard. Put a question mark in. 132. Okay, so when you buy materials, you should put profit on them and sell them at a profit, right? You shouldn't sell them at at the price you paid for them.
Mhm.
So then that means labor amount equals 1938 minus the materials amount, right?
Yeah.
John, what's wrong with you?
Can I just ask a question before you move on from there? Josh, did you mark it up or should we mark it up, if you know what I mean?
They didn't mark it up. You charged a meterage rate.
Yeah, this is on a meterage rate.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But without adding in and markup on your materials. So the numbers you're doing, John, are really just are not actually indicative of the actual hourly rates that Josh charged.
That's correct. He didn't charge an hourly rate. He charged a fixed rate per meter.
Exactly. Okay, fair enough.
Right. So I'm trying to reverse engineer that
Yeah.
back to what he would be charging for the labor if we said a 50% gross margin on materials is fair.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So the labor amount's 1806. The labor hours, oh, for fuck's sake, John. Sorry. The labor hours was 26. So the charge out rate is that divided by 26. 69.46, right?
Okay.
Cool. So Josh, I think that's a fairly low hourly rate.
Mm.
You might
Yeah.
say, yeah, but the industry will only allow that, right?
Mm.
And that's, we've always got that to fight against, if you like.
Mm.
Let's do Gled Hill. Invoiced amount 1433.
Can I just ask, John, that labour rate you're quoting, is that with through your tracker where you add, or are they all contractors?
No, that's through the tracker. So what we did with these guys, we went into the labour cost and we said we've got Irfan, Suraj and Sajid
Yeah, all
being
right.
paid their different amounts. The average cost per charged hour being 43. That's their
Yeah.
cost.
Yep.
So we did that. Yeah, we followed process. I love process. So 1433, 21 hours, 306 for materials. 1433, 21 hours. What did I say for materials? 306. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I pull these formulae down now, materials sell, double, 612. Therefore, the labor amount is 821. Therefore, the charge out rate is only $40 an hour.
Mm.
Ooh, that's not what we want.
I was not good at that job.
No, but it's an interesting lesson, right? So we're doing, this is how you reverse engineer some hourly rates. Do you want to do yours, Craig, and throw yours up?
I haven't got my tracker sorted out because we're only speaking to the accountant this evening.
Okay,
So,
well, we'll give you another week to do that then.
yeah, we'll do it next week because hopefully that'll be sorted this evening.
And
Yeah.
another thing, John, these two jobs that we have here, they were that was subcontract to another company that we do work for, on occasion. So these are the two jobs, another silicon company. So like with that if I was charging directly to a client, we definitely make more money, but we were slim due to the meterage rate we get with them. That's why it is a bit tight on these.
That's right. You have a meterage rate kind of imposed on you, right? With these guys.
Yes, that's correct. Exactly. Yes.
It's still interesting, right? Very different charge out rates. Reverse engineered bullshit made up charge out rates, but an interesting thing to understand all the same. especially when we're saying $43 an hour is what they cost you. And you charge them out at 39. So we might need to go, hang on here. Do we want those jobs at that charge out rate? It's not really very profitable, even though we think we made 24%, which you did make 24%. But it was, you made a lot of it on materials, right? It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, I'm a big fan of this, right? $40 is a low charge out rate for tradespeople. $70 is reasonably low. $80 is more normal. And maybe we need to think about a different meterage rate for fiddly jobs like windows, or we don't want to do them. Or we don't do subcontract work, which was a decision we made this morning, wasn't it, really? By preference.
Yeah,
Okay.
by preference.
Yeah, by preference. Yeah. Look, that was good. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
I'm still interested in this comparing yourself to your competitors, right? So Barry says, I think he's a bit better than most of the competitors that he's the same price as, right? That's what I heard you say, Barry.
Yeah. I'm happy to go with that. Definitely.
Same price, better to work with. Kate, what do you think you are?
Definitely higher quality work and take more ownership in our work. So as you know, when we have been left before, they've invariably always come back to us. So
yeah.
And I know our systems are fantastic, and yes, we take full ownership. As I said last week, we don't have a zero callback rate, but it's relatively low. But in turn, I think they leave us in the first place. We have a call out fee, including the first hour. I'm wondering if Barry or Kevin have that as well, because we charge for our first hour, including the first hour plus the drive time, we charge $130, including GST. So I think that's prohibitive for some of them. Like if it's a quick plane down a door sort of a job, then that makes us quite expensive. But we've always had that, and we've been in business for quite a while now, and we've always had a minimum call out fee. So I was curious as to your thoughts.
Well, let me just follow my train of thought for a sec. You're a bit more expensive than the lowest prices they can get, right?
Yeah. We do a lot more things, much like Barry. So our capabilities are a lot larger, and the quality of work is a lot better. Plus our systems and procedures and follow through are a lot better. And technology is a lot better. But I think they'll even when they leave us, so we've had one of our big real estate agents sort of dumped us for all the easy jobs. They continued to give us the difficult stuff or the involved stuff. So because they know we're capable of that sort of work.
Yeah. Pricks.
That's probably where we're at too, because we do a lot of high-end work and we charge $95 an hour, but just a flat rate.
Sorry.
And we've found that anyone that wants a cheap job, they eventually ditch us for someone who's charging like $60 an hour, something like that. But then in turn, we'll get them back for all the really difficult stuff, or the ones where they go, well, they just didn't fix it, and 3 months later it's packed it in, and so then we're back again. But then they don't like the price the second time because there's more work involved to fix what someone else couldn't do.
Don't you just get all smug then and say, well, serves you right for being a dick the first time?
You like to, but the truth, they really turn it on and say, oh, but come on.
Yeah, I'd be like, no way, get fucked.
And what about the like-for-like stuff? Like, have you found any pullback on the easy jobs, like go and change a lock, or plane a door, or patch and paint a wall, a dent in a wall, a small dent in a wall, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, look, it's probably 50-50 with things like that. Sometimes they'll want to quote a price, and other times it's just do and charge. So we'll just go in there and do it. But we can do a patch on a wall and they'll have some expectation it's going to be $200. And we said, well, it's not a simple patch. It's a full repaint as well. We can't do a blend. Ends up being like $400. And then they go, oh my God, this is even after they've put a cap on it at $500. They still complain that it's under the cap, but it's still not under what they thought. So
Look, what's it? I'm interested in this, right? Customers are dicks quite often and play that game with you. You know, often not. I won't say on purpose, but because they're not necessarily reasonable, straightforward, honest people, right? It's quite common that they just behave irresponsibly or unreasonably. You know what I mean? Some people complain about the price because that's what they think you do with tradesmen, so you keep them in line.
Mm.
Right? Really? Right? That's how some people think you need to be. Some people think, you know, I don't know, you know, you behave like the stereotypes on the TV, you know, all that stuff, right? So I'm inclined to say, ignore most of that shit. Do you know what I mean? When they, oh, that's a lot. You only did a little job. I'm inclined to say, to respectfully say, you don't really understand what is involved in such a job.
Talking about that, I was scrolling through Facebook and was doing something the other day, and there was this a guy with an old guy with this really big hammer, and the caption was or the part of the caption was his invoice was for $10,000, and the guys looked, but you've just walked in with a hammer.
Yeah,
But I knew where to hit the thing with the hammer.
that's right, right? It's a lovely story, isn't it?
Yeah, so this guy's got all the experience and knowledge that he's done and practiced over the years to get where he's got, and he's did the one little tap that he needed to do in the right spot, and away he's gone. And
Yeah. Look, and honestly, right, the right way to do this is to do the quote before you do the job, get acceptance of the quote, and then they can't say that's more than I thought, because it's not more than they thought, because I accepted the quote before you did the job. Do you know what I mean? And before you do the job, they can say that's more than I thought, and you can say, okay, get someone else to do it then. And at least you haven't done the work before you get in the fight. You know what I mean? And you know how I feel, right? Do enough marketing, you feel brave saying that, and you don't care if you don't work with the cheapskates anymore because you've got the happy customers who'll pay full price. And there's that balance, right? Do plenty of marketing, have the good customers, then the idiot, dickhead, cheapskate customers, you can tell them to get lost. Respectfully and nicely, you can say, my price is firm. Yeah, right. You don't need to actually do that. You can just do that inside, using your inside voice. But that's where I want you to head, right? So I'm liking this conversation. You know, Kate, you do significantly better quality work. You take ownership better. You've got great systems. You've got a low callback rate. So especially compared to these cheap ass tradespeople that they sometimes get in, they still put price pressure on you.
They do,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
And we've got a price list as well, which is
Yeah.
But we do get asked to break that down. So and we always oblige when we're asked to.
Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? That Barry said no, and the person went okay.
Yeah, it was good. Good story.
Yeah, you know, and I used to call this value-based pricing. Never mind hourly rate, mate. Hourly rate's not relevant. It's this much to do the job. Because the only reason to try and ask you to break a price down is to pick at it, right? Is to gain some knowledge advantage and say, oh, that's too much. So imagine going to a restaurant and ordering a steak and saying, well, how much for the steak and how much for the broccoli and how much for the chips? Why is it so much for that? What about the washing up? How much? Well, I don't want to pay for the washing up. That's far too much to pay for washing up on my plate. You know, they'd laugh in your face, wouldn't they? You'd probably grab you by the back of your belt and escort you to the door like that on the tiptoes. So we need to not allow, you need to not allow people, it's bullying, right? We need to not allow people to push you around and bully you on price, which is where I'd like you to get. So Kev, the same, not as cheap, but you get called back to fix other people's shitty work. Okay. Craig, would you like to make a statement on where you sit on price?
Yeah, we probably sit slightly on the higher end of things. We also pay our staff probably more than the average too. Sort of in an attempt to get quality people to do a quality job, and so I guess some of that balances out.
So do you do a better quality job, do you think, or are
Yes.
you better to work with?
Yeah. I think our communication's better. I think we make effort to make very few callbacks, and we have checklists in place and things like that a lot of people don't generally have. So, we put a lot of effort into that, but we also do charge. Yeah, I mean, I don't think, definitely not unreasonable. So I'd say on the higher end of normal, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, I wrote
there's
slightly
always a
higher
spectrum.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then in just regards to one of the questions we had last week, I spoke about one of the cleaning jobs. We spoke to one of the builders. We had asked for higher rates. The builder got back to us and said, yes, he'd actually spoken with a bunch of other builders, and they've all agreed that that's a decent rate, And
Really?
they also said, well, they also don't want the pain in the, number one, they like working with us. Number two, they don't feel like the pain in the ass to look for the cheapest person. So they've agreed to come to the party. So yeah, so also nice results from that one.
Hang on, your new increased rate is fair, is what
Yes.
you said.
Yeah.
Well done, Craig.
So we tested the Wooders with a sort of a medium-sized job, builder. It's there's not a shitload of work coming from them, but a decent amount. But it's just an illustration of like a well-written email explaining why can get you a long way.
Yeah, really.
And
well done,
so that's kind of where we ended up. Yeah. So thanks to the support here.
Yeah. A bit brave, right? You were a bit brave, and
yeah,
that's really good, mate. Very encouraging.
So that was good. Yeah, it worked out well.
And it supports kind of my position that, you get less resistance when you charge a bit more than you're afraid of.
Yeah. And we also had the girls cleaning were also quite upset that they worked so bloody hard and got paid so little, because we got paid so little. And so that helped motivate us, because we were like, well, fuck, it's not really fair on anybody. We were genuinely open to the idea of just saying, well, cheers. If they're not willing to come to the party, we were like, well, we're not working for that. And we felt strongly about that. And I think that conviction helps when you're having these discussions.
Yeah, it does.
So Kate, I think you were saying you had one or two really big, like, people giving you a lot of work. I think it is much harder in that scenario, to be fair, to come with that sort of bravado.
Agree. And we're sort of looking to distance ourselves from that a bit and become less reliant on them for exactly that reason. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, a huge strategic initiative from you to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. Big change, big investment. And I see 61427 is Wayne. Hello, mate. I can see his face now. So, Wayne, where do you think you guys sit on price and quality / goodness?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Look, we're just a touch from the top. We're probably $10 off the most expensive in town. Quality-wise, I think we do a good job. Again, like I heard just a couple of moments ago, we pay our guys pretty well. We definitely pay equal or very close to the best in town, and so we expect good quality. So we do struggle sometimes with price. However, you've just got to wear that, because I'd rather have good quality and a good name rather than quantity and banging it through. So we're not far off the top.
But you don't compromise quality, right? Your quality is good.
Correct.
Okay. So, all of you, I haven't done Josh. Josh, where's your price compared to quality?
Yeah, I think we're priced pretty fairly. Now when we engage new work, we have put our prices up, and nobody seemed to actually question that, because kind of before we didn't really know how much we were actually supposed to be getting, since we've been subcontracting a lot of the time. So
can I say that you don't know how you fit on price? You're not sure?
Well, I did. Like a couple of months ago, I did call up a lot of other companies just to gauge their prices, and yeah, we're mimicking those prices now.
Right. So you're fair, normal, mid-range.
Yeah. So mid-range, and yeah, definitely we do a good job. We always get called back for repeat work with the people that we do, and we've been also referred a couple of jobs from the people that we are working with.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So all of you are either the same price or, hang on, no, let me rephrase that. All of you do a better job than the average, right? And all of you are either slightly more expensive or about the same as the average, with the possible exception of Wayne, who thinks he's a bit more expensive than that. But you all get pushback on your price, right? You all get pushback on your price from people who either don't see that you're better and worth more or don't want to accept it, right? Can I summarize that? Can I write that down?
Mm-hmm.
All do better than average work and not much more than average price. Customers sometimes fail or refuse to acknowledge your betterness, for want of a less, I'm trying to use quite a non-specific word, so your betterness, right? So can you hear where I'm going with this? It's on you to make them acknowledge it and recognize it, right? You know, I know that Kate, you've got people who kind of refuse to acknowledge it. They don't want to know that you're better, right? They just want to go, la, 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 be cheaper, right? And that's a kind of, right? It's a fairly standard customer defense. La, 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 I didn't hear any of that, be cheaper. But, you know, you couldn't get that in a BMW showroom, right? You couldn't go into a BMW showroom and say, it's a car, I want that car, but it's too expensive. I can get a car for 20,000 down the road, and expect them to go, oh, right, well, a bit of discount then. Wouldn't work, right? Because they're very clear where their car fits in that kind of hierarchy of goodness and price. They'll discount against another garage selling the same BMW 330i, because that's an identical car, but they won't discount against, you know, a Toyota Corolla, right? And I think that's your problem. You're selling BMWs, for want of a better comparison, against Corollas, or, you know, Corollas against Kias. And your customers are saying, but I can get a Kia cheaper than that. And you're discounting your nicer car against the shittier car, because they're kind of pressuring you to, right? So that's what I want you to understand more and get more confident about doing, and more confident about explaining. And I think probably I said it last time again. I want your homework this time to be getting more clarity on why you're good. Who feels like you could do that? You all gave a little bit of it today, didn't you? Kate, you talked about systems and ownership and better job and fewer callbacks, right? You all had the right words. I want you to come back with some real clarity on why your customers should pay a bit more for you. On why they should pay a bit more. Will you take that as a homework? Because of course, you've all got some clarity, right? You all kind of understand we do a good job, all that sort of stuff. But I'm not sure that you're going to your customers when you've received price pressure and saying, well, hang on a minute, you're comparing us against a Kia. And we're not a Kia. We're a BMW. You know, if you want a Kia, that's fine. Go and buy a Kia. But don't try and persuade me to sell you my BMW service for Kia price. Right? And that's what I want you to do. I want you to start doing that. Get better at forcing your customer to acknowledge and pay for your value. I'm writing this so I can write the email, obviously, because I didn't do that last week, did I?
Well, we got an email, so.
Well, that's because Donna was kind enough to write the notes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, I've finished. I've given you a homework, right? Get clear on why they should pay a bit more for you and start practicing a bit. Use the Kia analogy if you want. And I'm going to stop there and throw it open to questions and say, would anyone like to ask a question or ask for some feedback or something? Don't all speak at once.
So to be sure, just going back to the numbers there, thanks for sharing again, Josh.
That's right.
I'm gonna take, so for example, we did 1 or 2 jobs today that I looked at. You take, say, the amount you invoiced minus your materials, forgetting the markup for the time being, minus materials, minus your labor costs, and then divided by the number of hours you worked, will give you the hourly rate, charge out rate. Okay,
Yes.
I just want to make sure I've got the calculation and I'll work.
We could almost call it an effective charge out rate.
Yeah.
Right? You know, kind of what happened in the real world. I'm going to write effective charge out rate. Do you want me to send you this little table?
Yeah, why not? That'd be great.
Shall I send it to all of you?
Yes, please.
I will share it to all of you.
We don't charge anywhere near 100% on our markup. We're lucky if we charge 5.
I know. That's what you should be charging.
Mm.
Yeah. I
How
think
much
we're
they
the
charge in a
same,
shop?
too. We probably only just put 5 or 10 on it on top, and we've already got a 5% discount out of that. So it's probably only 5% on retail.
That's exactly the question I was going to ask, actually, because we're with Bunnings and I was curious to know what other people's discount was. So you've said 5%. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's just a flat 5, and it's only on certain items. Not everything you get a decent discount. I've even tried to get a price structure out of them, and they just flat out refuse to give you anything. They won't even
once.
Yeah, they won't even reply to emails. Even if you talk to them directly, they'll go, yeah, we'll get back to you, but they don't give you any price structure. Even though I said we can go to the Mitre 10 down the road and get a better price, so they're not interested.
You get 5 as well.
But your average retailer is making more than 50% gross margins. Right? Your average retailer shop. My brother and his wife used to own a kids' clothing shop in Byron Bay, and they used to double the price they paid and then add some more and round it up. And that was just a small shop, right? I know that a pub I used to work in, they used to charge 57% gross profit on beer. That's 57%, right? So if it cost them 43 pence, they sold it for a pound. So more than double, quite a lot more than double. They used to sell Coca-Cola, right? It used to come in boxes of syrup. It used to cost a penny for a half pint of Coke that was a pound. I don't know what kind of markup that is. That's a 99% gross profit, gross margin, right? So big businesses are out there doing it, right? I once sold a deal at Optus. Right? It was, I can't remember. I think it was 4 million or something. It was a 95% gross margin on it. Right? I wasn't in charge of the pricing. I was going, it needs to be cheaper, and getting told, shut up, John. That's as low as we're going. Fuck off. Now, granted, right? It's a bit skewed because they were building infrastructure, but margins are high, right? Margins are high out there, and it's this industry, the trade industry, where everyone says you can't charge 15%. That's outrageous. They're only $2.50 in Bunnings, you know. To which, but somebody had to ring up and order it from Bunnings and know what to order, and then collect it or take delivery and then check that it was all there and then drive it to the site and do the actual job. Fucking hell, you know? So, you know, the answer for the customer then is to say, well, go and buy it yourself then. But if it's not here on Tuesday, I'll be charging you $90 an hour to go and buy it.
And we've had that as well, and they buy the wrong thing.
That's right.
That's right. Go anyway.
You have to go anyway, but then you have to charge them, right? You have to sting them and punish them and make them understand. The real answer is, theoretically, yeah. The real answer isn't to make them go and do it. I probably shouldn't have said that. The right answer
have that all the time. Like they'll go and buy a range hood. They'll say the landlord's gone and bought a range hood. Can you install it? That might not be a good example because that could probably fit anywhere. Well, let's say it couldn't. Let's say it was a 900.
It's a good example. It's a great example.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. It's a great example, right? Because they're trying to nickel and dime you.
Yeah.
And the answer is for you, you know, no, it's a fixed price for a product. I don't go and do labor only work. You know, if you're going to buy something cheap and shitty, and then I'm going to install it, and then you're going to call me out and say, it doesn't work. And you're going to go, well, what do you want me to do about it? All I did was fit the thing that you bought, right?
I know we find we get the most questions on the smaller value jobs, like anything under $200 or $300. Once it gets over $500-600, they tend to ask less questions. They don't, because they can't sort of ratify the labor, the materials, because it's getting bigger and bigger. Which is why whenever we've done something that's like $8,000, well, they can't sit there and divide an hourly rate into that. Even if they tried to, they just can't. But it's the small stuff where we get the most amount of grief, which is why I detest real estate work sometimes.
Yeah.
Going in to fix a door handle and, you know, and you tell them, oh, it's $125 because we had to pull apart the barrel lock, and then we had a barrel lock. Lucky we didn't have to drive and get one and put it all back together. And they go, oh, we could have called a locksmith. I said, well, yeah, and it probably would have cost you $180. Oh, we could have put a new handle set on. I just go, oh my God.
Yeah, but you didn't though, did you?
No. So it's the small stuff that is where you get the problems. The bigger stuff, we don't.
I think that's common actually. I mean, you know, on the bigger stuff, people get different pushback. You know, I know the builders get a lot of pushback when they've quoted 600,000. One of my builders in Byron did a job and the architect, or did a job, quoted a job, and the architect told the customer it would be 700,000. His quote came in at nearly 900,000. Somebody else's was even more, and somebody else's was a bit less. Everyone's pissed off. And he doesn't know whether he's going to win it or not. You know, right now the customer's having a spaz angry at the architect and the builders. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a strange and emotional and emotive world that you're in. Whether you're working with real estates, whether you're working with customers, whether you're working with builders, and you're across the spectrum, right? All of you.
It's a massive error in communication, though, because if someone leads you on to believe something and it's your expectation is here and the reality is here, then you start from the beginning.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah. Look, and the only approach I want to encourage is for you to get clear and confident in your pricing structure, right? Which is what we've been trying to do, get clear and confident that your pricing structure and the way you do it is fair, and then defend it. Right? It's the only way that fits with my sense of kind of what's right and fair and proper and has integrity, right? You know, customers lie. Real estate agents in particular lie, right? And, you know, they'll tell you someone else was cheaper when they weren't. They'll lie through their teeth. I can get such and such a body else, and they're just as good as you to do it for cheaper than that. And the only answer is to call their bluff on it and say, okay, why don't you do that then? You know, knowing, as you two do, Kate and Kev particularly, that they probably won't, right? They'll probably get someone else in and get a much worse experience and even have to call you back in to fix up the problem, or you know, have a slightly worse experience and not really let on, right? You're confident that your service is good. And if you're confident that your price is fair, I think that's the only thing, is to kind of hold the line, you know, which is why I want to take us through this, and why I'm taking each of you through that process of getting to a point where you go, this is my price, or this is my structure. This is how I apply my pricing structure to a finalized quote for a job. End of, you know, you can redo the design to reduce the cost of something, you know, but you don't reduce the hourly rate or shave the margins or decide that you can do it in fewer hours if everyone works a bit faster, or you don't pay them overtime, right? You know, all that, right? And I hear that kind of stuff a lot. People trying to accommodate a customer and then unreasonableness, because all that really ends up happening is you lose out. So that's it. I'm going to stop there because I'm in danger of rabbiting on. Shall I write my approach? Preferred approach. I'll write this for the email. So why don't you guys think about, for my preferred approach, right? Set your fair price. Be clear on your value.
Yes, sir.
And why your price is fair. And then be prepared to defend it. And a large part of that comes with the confidence, right? The confidence of not being desperate and not needing it and being ready to lose. You've got to be ready to lose, right? And that kind of knowing that bottom point, you know, at some below this price, I don't want the deal. You can stick it up your ass. I'd rather sit at home, twiddle my thumbs, or I'd rather have the guys cleaning the vans than do the work at a loss. There's a point, isn't there? There's a point below which that's the case, where you just go, nah, get stuffed. Know where that is. And it's in your pricing structure, right? You might go, all right, we've got my pricing structure and it's $90 an hour, or it's this much per meter. And I know that if I'm pushed on an easy job, I'll come down a bit because you know you've got some room, but have a bottom, right? Do this work prior and be prepared. And then, you know, because I tell you what, they know when you get to, no, I'm not going any lower, they know. And most of the time, then they just go, all right, and I'll buy it. They're not really going to buy it off somebody else most of the time. Know your bottom limit. So that's my structure. I'm going to finish up, guys.
Okay.
It's time for a dog walk.
Nice. Enjoy.
Right, John.
Possibly a
Right.
driving lesson. I'm going to take Florence for a
Yeah,
driving
good
lesson.
luck.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
one of the most terrifying experiences of your life.
Don't
Manual
do
car
it.
and a 16-year-old girl. All right, guys. Have a lovely
All right.
week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.